Yeah, I mean, first my message to federal employees who work in Maine is, thank you for your service. We are sorry that you have to go through this incredibly chaotic, poorly planned, poorly executed, and confusing process. And honestly, we don't know any better than most of them about whether this is mandatory or not mandatory, because as you know, there's a different email that comes out every day. But our belief is that Doge and Elon Musk have actually no authority over hiring and firing, and they're not going through proper employment proceedings, and what they're doing is extremely arbitrary. So I understand how confusing it would be to be one of those employees, and many of them are getting mixed guidance even from their advisory staff, but this is just part of a horrible pattern that's going on right now, mistreating federal employees, making bad decisions about where to cut, and not providing efficiencies in the federal government.
I think every agency in the federal government is going to have to look at ways they can prioritize and make sure they have people able to do the most important priorities of the federal government. And to me, that is where we are right now, where we're looking at a bureaucracy that's bloated, and we need to find ways to right-size our federal government. Our lakeshore, our Sleeping Bear Dunes are national treasures, and we want to make sure they're protected. But we've got to do it within a budget, and that's where we need to set the right priorities, and to me that would be a very big priority. So we'll continue to work with the administration on this, and Congress is going to have an important say in this process, but you can count on me advocating for the Sleeping Bear Dunes.
When President Trump was elected, remember, he won the Electoral College and the popular vote, and one of the things he campaigned on was shrinking the size of government. Especially the last 4 years, we've seen an explosion not only in the number of government employees, but the spending of the government. And good, bad, or indifferent, Republicans and Democrats for the last quarter century or really 50 years are responsible for the horrible debt that we're facing these days. And again, in the next 1 to 3 years, if we don't get control of our debt, we face national insolvency. So the president has appointed Elon Musk to head up the Doge committee or the Doge agency, really to look at what federal government is. There's some things that the president has enabled him to do as far as the number of employees that he recommends to the president to eliminate their jobs. But then again, this is what the president's doing. Elon's not doing. The president is making the real call. Elon's only making the recommendations. And so, there have been a lot of heads on fire about what's happening. But I think people have to realize, and this is a sad fact that honestly I wouldn't know if I'm not in government or in Congress these days, that we're at a financial precipice right now. And Republicans and Democrats share in this responsibility. But I, for one, am glad we have a president that's willing to tackle this. Well, I think it's tough. I think it's really tough on a lot of individuals, but this is being pushed across all agencies, including the Defense Department, looking for really waste. I mean, I read one article yesterday, it was $10,000 spent on an HDMI cable. That's absolutely ridiculous use of taxpayer money. He's coming into the cabinet to explain to each member of the cabinet who heads their agencies what the purpose is, what's going on, and hopefully getting buy-in from all of those individuals. Guys, these are difficult times, and I feel for all the individuals who've lost their jobs. Sadly enough, I see in DC now all the traffic that's going on for individuals that haven't shown up to work for the last 4 years. So we pushed out way too far, and these are dramatic things that are happening in dramatic times. But this is what our nation needs to do, and I feel for those individuals who've lost their jobs and are great government employees. Hopefully they have gainful reemployment soon. But we're at a point of national insolvency, and so drastic measures need to be taken.
That's more Democrat hype. The man is not being paid. Thank God we have Elon Musk up there. The fact that he purchased Twitter has given us a platform from which to hear the truth finally. We had big tech that was muzzling and censoring conservatives, and now we've got Elon who has opened that up. And thank God for President Trump as well in appointing Elon to what he's doing. I welcome what Elon is doing. I have no doubt that he's going to be up there for a temporary period of time, not taking any salary, but streamlining this government and finding all kinds of stuff. We know also, as an example, that we have approximately 64 million more Social Security accounts than we have people in the United States population. That's how many Social Security accounts there are giving someone somewhere around the world benefits. And on top of that, we have over a million people who are getting Social Security benefits who are up to 230 years old. Listen, there's fraud, there's waste, there's abuse, and thank goodness that we have someone who is intent upon streamlining this federal government. Thank God for him.
I think it's failing and failing miserably. You know, the American public, like even colleagues of mine and myself, want to make certain that we have the most efficient budget possible, but you don't do it by wielding a chainsaw against the budget. And the theatrics of Mr. Musk holding that chainsaw is extremely hurtful and harmful in terms of the outcome that he has achieved. Doge has not been sanctioned by Congress. There has been no authorization. And so that shadow agency is being run by Mr. Musk, who's never had a background check and who was never approved for confirmation by the United States Senate. And so I think we really need to work on this in a way that's academic. The way to have done it would be to work through inspectors general, but they were the first to which that they took the desire to cut. And so you lost that talent and that institutional knowledge. They are nonpartisan. They are there to identify any waste and any fraud and any inefficiencies or non-compliance with statute. We have had inspectors general before the number of committees that I've served on to get their update, and there's always a great give and take with them at the table with agency leaders. So they really failed miserably. If you really want to get at waste and fraud and inefficiency, do it in a way that provides the most knowledgeable voices. Otherwise, he resorted to a team of very young people that do not fully understand the mission statement of the agency, or to not even bear with them the sort of institutional knowledge that is most beneficial here.
Yes, I think Elon Musk, you can look at him as an auditor. And it's up to the elected officials, like President Trump, like those in Congress, whether that's in the House of Representatives or the Senate, to ultimately make the decision. But I think, you know, he is very good at big budgets. He's very good at finding efficiencies in business, and we can utilize those tools right now. And look, just like I do, you know, coming from the private sector, I think it's important to have a different perspective than a government perspective, because we're in a mess. We have a federal debt right now of $36 trillion. We're continuing to go into debt almost $2 trillion per year. And we have to make very, very tough decisions in order to get our budget under control. So why not have somebody that has experience with big budgets come in and give advice, and then it's ultimately up to the elected officials.
Well, I certainly support where President Trump is taking us, as well as 77 million Americans that voted for President Trump and his agenda to make America first, to prevent taxes from increasing, to keep our nation safe, to protect our borders, and to reel in our federal spending. And I very much support the fact that Musk, which is an agent of President Trump, I think if we changed Elon Musk's name to Sarah Jones or something else, folks would not have nearly as much of a problem with what's taking place. But we do need to be looking for efficiency in government, and I certainly appreciate the fact that the President has tasked the Doge committee to get out there and look into the way that we're spending our money and how we can be more efficient.
So I, like most of my constituents, believe that the government should be accountable with taxpayer dollars. We should make sure that we are spending that money wisely. But Medicaid, this program that they are attacking with nearly $1 trillion in cuts, is one of the most efficient and effective healthcare insurance delivery programs, right? The fraud isn't there. We are talking about children. We are talking about seniors who are often also on Medicare. We are talking about new babies born in the United States. We are the safety net for 1 in 5 Americans. And Medicaid is a good program. Audit after audit, it stands up to be not full of the fraud that they are perpetrating. It is a good use of taxpayer dollars, and it is wildly popular with the American people. I think we should be able to. We should be able to have discussions about, what is the most efficient use of our resources. How do we serve people better? How do we ensure that, 1 in every 2 college students isn't food or housing insecure? How do we ensure that the huge number of kids with disabilities who should qualify for Medicaid services but don't because their state has run out of funds get the services they need? How do we make sure that special ed students get the support that their IEPs authorize them to get but aren't able to get because the federal government hasn't been keeping up our end of the bargain and fully funding IDEA, or even funding it at the 40% that they promised? There are definitely ways that we could be more efficient and effective if we have a reasonable discussion about it, if it isn't just grandstanding and supporting the hatchet that Elon Musk is taking to government programs.